Last class we have our Halloween activity, so we are going to talk about some Halloween vocabulary, okay? Bueno chicos, entonces la clase pasada, como saben, tuvimos nuestra actividad de Halloween en donde contamos historias de terror y cosas que nos habían pasado, ¿ok? Entonces lo que vamos a hacer en este video es hablar un poco sobre el vocabulario de Halloween, un poco sobre palabras de Halloween y vamos a ver como unos pequeños videos y una pequeña historia, ¿vale? Entonces vamos a comenzar. Ok, so vocabulary. Entonces, la primera palabra que tenemos, the first word we have is Halloween. That in Spanish is Halloween. Ok, entonces tenemos Halloween, en español es Halloween porque en realidad no se traduce como tal, ¿vale? Porque es una festividad de Estados Unidos, como saben, entonces Halloween es Halloween. Then we have trick or treat, que en realidad significa truco, que es trick, o trato, que es treat. Pero en español no lo decimos como truco o trato. Normalmente lo decimos como dulce o truco porque sabemos que la festividad de Halloween sales y pides dulces, ¿vale? Pero en realidad eso significa truco o trato, ¿vale? Ok. Then we have this, that is candy. Ok, so candy significa dulce. O en su defecto candies, que es el plural, que significa dulces. Then we have costume, que significa disfraz, ¿ok? Entonces costume, disfraz. Ok. Then we have ghost, que significa fantasma. Entonces vamos a ver un poco de qué nos podemos disfrazar, de las cosas que nos solemos disfrazar y vamos a hablar de ellos, ¿vale? Entonces primero tenemos que nos podemos disfrazar de ghost, es decir, de fantasma. Ghost, fantasma. Then we have monster, que significa monstruo, es decir, que también te puedes disfrazar de monstruo. Monster. Then we have mommy, que significa momia, entonces the mommy costume significaría disfraz de momia. Then we have pirate, que significa pirata. Then we have skeleton, que significa esqueleto. Como ven aquí el niño está disfrazado de esqueleto. Then we have vampire, que significa vampiro. Then we have witch, que significa bruja. And wizard, que significa hechicero. Ok, so then we have pumpkin, que significa calabaza. Y de este lado tenemos Jack-o'-lantern, que significa, en realidad significa linterna de Jack, pero en español no lo decimos linterna de Jack porque no le encontramos mucho sentido, entonces lo llamamos linterna de calabaza, ¿vale? Es cuando justo como que le hacen los ojitos y la boquita a la calabaza y adentro le ponen como una vela para que parezca una linterna, ¿ok? Ok, so then we have a haunted house, que es una casa embrujada. Then we have bat, que significa murciélago. Here we have owl, que significa búho. Then we have spider, que significa araña. And for the last word we have is black cat, que significa gato negro, ¿vale? Esta es nuestra última palabra. Ok, entonces eso es un poco sobre el vocabulario de Halloween, ¿vale? Ok, so now we are going to see a horror story.
I had been driving for the past hour and was growing sleepy. I still had 3 hours to go before I reached my hometown, and I didn't think I was going to make it without falling asleep at the wheel. I looked at the clock on my dash. It was 2:30 a.m. I decided that I would stop at the next hotel that I saw and just call it a night and head home first thing in the morning. It wasn't long before I saw a massive-looking hotel on the next exit. I looped around over an old bridge, and there I was, in the parking lot of this surprisingly well-kept, large, four-story hotel. The hotel looked like it was built in the early 1900s. I thought it would be cool to go home in the morning and tell my friends that I had stayed the night at a wickedly creepy old hotel. Once inside, I was taken back by the Victorian-style interior of the hotel. The entrance was like an older grand ballroom. Everything was pristine and clean, with huge chandeliers hanging from the ceiling, illuminating the ground level with a warm amber glow. I checked in at the front desk and was shocked to learn that I would have to pay $225 for a room. This wasn't your ordinary cheap hotel. It turns out it was a historical hotel. But since I was already there, I decided to just pay for the room and take the hit. My room was on the 4th floor, but considering how small and antiquated the elevators were, I decided to take the stairwell just to be safe. When I got to the top of the large staircase, I noticed that my room was at the end of the hallway. Once in my room, I was quite delighted at how nice it was, and it definitely had a certain nostalgic appeal, despite the old musky feel of the place, which kind of reminded me of an old library. Deciding to call it a night, I got into bed and was soon sound asleep. Sometime during the night it began to storm, because I was woken by thunder and rain splattering on the windows, which was then followed by flashes of lightning. I rolled over as another flash of lightning shot through the room, illuminating a figure at the foot of my bed. But as quickly as the shadow appeared, it was gone. Startled, I sat up in bed, clearing my thoughts, and reluctantly got out of bed to investigate. I quickly dismissed this as a figment of my overactive imagination. The hotel was beautiful in its own right, but it held a lot of old creepy elements within its walls that had somehow seeped its way into my consciousness. Not finding anything out of the ordinary, I went back to sleep as the thunderstorms grew louder. Again, after an hour or so of sleep, I was jarred awake by a sound. This time it sounded like somebody was knocking from inside the large closet next to the bathroom. When I finally got the courage to get up to investigate, the knocking had stopped. I stood there, looking at the door that was ajar, imagining what could be lurking behind it. As my heart began to thump, I reached for the door and swung it open. To my relief, the closet was empty, but I had heard knocking from the closet door. This was starting to become very unsettling. Before returning to bed, I checked the front door. I reluctantly opened it and noticed that my hands were shaking. As I poked my head out and looked, I caught a glimpse of a woman. She seemed to be wearing old clothes and had long black hair. I wondered if I was simply seeing things at this point. Maybe it was her who had knocked on my door, and I had mistakenly assumed that the sound came from the closet. Maybe she was simply trying to find her room. I shut the door and tried to assure myself I was safe before returning to bed. As I pressed my head against the pillow, I couldn't shake the feeling that somebody was watching me. I decided to keep my eyes on the closet door, that to my surprise was again slightly open. It was then that I began to feel something breathing on the back of my neck. I kept my eyes on the closet door as it slowly began to creak open. I held my breath in fear. The door opened all the way as the warm sensation on the back of my neck intensified. I twisted around to see a horrifying, half-decayed woman in bed with me. I jumped from the bed and ran down the hall, descending the stairs as quickly as I could. When I got to the front desk, I told the clerk that somebody was in my room. When I told her it was room 404, she frowned and immediately apologized. Apparently, I had been given the wrong keys by mistake. Nobody had been in that room for years, as the hotel had limited access due to multiple complaints of a scary woman haunting the room's occupants. I was informed that back in the early 1900s, a woman had died in that very room and had been haunting it ever since. I asked the employee to retrieve my belongings, as I refused to go back into the room. I was given a new room on the first floor, and that would be the last time I would ever spend the night at the Crescent Hotel.